many Disney princesses can you name off the top of your head? Ariel, Belle, Cinderella, Rapunzel. I bet at least a few popped into your head in seconds. But have you ever thought about the other princesses who never got their moment in the spotlight? The ones who also starred in great stories, but were left behind by time, the industry, or even Disney itself. Today, we're diving into the memory vault to bring back 5 animated princesses that many people think are Disney, or who were simply overlooked, even though they had everything it takes to shine. Number 1. Anastasia. If there's one princess who's confused people for generations, it's Anastasia. Many of us grew up singing Once Upon a December, thinking she was part of the Disney universe, with her stunning animation, elegant outfits, and a story that felt like it came straight out of a classic fairy tale. But the truth is a bit different. Anastasia isn't a Disney princess, at least not officially. The movie was released in 1997 and produced by 20th Century Fox, directed by Don Bluth, a former Disney animator who set out to compete directly with his old studio. And honestly, he nailed it. Anastasia wasn't just a hit at the box office. It won over millions of hearts, with a story loosely inspired by the legend of the Russian Grand Duchess who vanished after the revolution. Anastasia has all the ingredients of a classic princess: a tragic backstory, a forgotten identity, a journey of self-discovery, romance, unforgettable songs, and a wicked villain. So, why isn't she part of the official Disney princess lineup? The answer's simple. She wasn't made by Disney. Sure, Disney bought 20th Century Fox in 2019 and technically owns the film now, but they never welcomed Anastasia into the official group. Why? Because the Disney princess lineup is a carefully curated brand. And even though she now lives on Disney+, Anastasia remains an honorary princess in the eyes of fans, but not in the eyes of the company. Still, Anastasia shines on her own. Her legacy lives on among those who remember her as the red-headed princess who wasn't Ariel, and her story continues to captivate new generations discovering her for the first time. At the end of the day, she's probably the most famous forgotten princess of all. And if you didn't know this already, you probably thought she was Disney too, didn't you? Number 2. Odette, the Swan Princess. In my last princess video, by the way, I'll link it up here if you missed it, many people mentioned the existence of a Swan Lake princess. And yes, it's true. But this princess isn't from Disney. Before Elsa froze our hearts and Rapunzel let down her hair, there was another golden-haired princess who lived a magical and tragically underrated story. Her name is Odette, the star of The Swan Princess, a film not made by Disney, but clearly created to challenge its reign. Released in 1994 and produced by Nest Entertainment alongside Rich Animation Studios, The Swan Princess is inspired by Tchaikovsky's famous ballet Swan Lake. Odette is a princess kidnapped by an evil sorcerer who transforms her into a swan, and only true love's kiss can break the spell. Her story has magic, transformation, a charming prince, talking animals, and, of course, songs. Sounds like Disney, right? In fact, the movie was clearly intended as a direct answer to Disney classics. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Odette came out right when Disney was having its golden era with The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. The result? The Swan Princess was crushed at the box office and quickly faded into obscurity, at least for most people. Ironically, despite its initial commercial failure, the film became a cult classic, especially thanks to its release on VHS and television. It even generated more than 10 sequels, although many were in 3D with animation that's, well, questionable at best. Today, Odette has no official merchandise, doesn't appear in theme parks, and has no place in the animated princess pantheon. But those who grew up with her know she's a true princess, brave, determined, and caught up in a story as magical as it is melancholic. A hidden gem that deserved way more love. Number 3. Thumbelina. Before Tiana kissed a frog or Moana crossed the ocean, there was a little princess who fit in the palm of your hand and went on an adventure as big as her heart. We're talking about Thumbelina, aka Pulgarcita, a forgotten princess who had a brief moment in the spotlight, even if the world barely paid attention. The best-known animated version of Thumbelina was released in 1994, directed by Don Bluth. Yes, the same guy behind Anastasia. Based on Hans Christian Andersen's classic tale, the film tells the story of a tiny girl born from a flower who dreams of finding someone just like her in a world that seems too big and dangerous. Throughout her journey, Thumbelina is kidnapped, chased, almost forced into marriage, and yet she never stops believing in her storybook, Prince Cornelius. With musical numbers, talking animals, magic, and romance, the movie ticked all the boxes of a classic princess tale. And yet, it was a commercial failure. The big problem was, once again, the competition with Disney. For 90s audiences, if it didn't have Mickey Mouse's seal of approval, it practically didn't exist. Plus, many critics thought Thumbelina's message, waiting for a prince to save you, was a bit outdated, even for that time. But over the years, Thumbelina found her audience. Her delicate design, charming voice, voiced by Jodie Benson, the same actress who voiced Ariel, and her visual style made her a little treasure. Is she an official princess? No. Is she a princess at heart? Absolutely. And although Disney never adopted her, Thumbelina remains one of the most beloved forgotten princesses in animation. Number 4. Kida. Yep, you heard that right. Kida is actually a Disney princess. But for some reason, the company chose to never include her in the official Disney princess lineup. And honestly, that's just not fair. Kida is the warrior princess from Atlantis, the Lost Empire, released in 2001. Brave, wise, determined, and with a backstory as tragic as it is epic, Kida represents a very different kind of princess. A natural-born leader, more in line with characters like Moana or Mulan than the classic glittery dress princesses. In Atlantis, Kida is much more than just a love interest. She's the heir to a lost civilization, carrying the weight of a 1,000-year-old legacy. She knows how to fight, how to think, and she doesn't wait around for anyone to save her. In fact, she's the one who ends up saving her people by becoming one with the sacred crystal of Atlantis. So, why isn't she part of the Disney Princess Club? The real reason? Atlantis was a box office flop. Even though it's now seen as a cult classic, at the time it got poor reviews and low sales. Plus, its darker, steampunk-inspired visual style, far from the usual fairy tale look, made it hard for Disney to market. And since the princess franchise is as much a marketing strategy as anything else, think dolls, costumes, theme parks, Kida was left out, despite being royal by blood, starring in a heroic story, and, let's be honest, having a design that's absolutely stunning. But time has a way of setting things right. Today, Kida has been rediscovered by fans who admire her strength, her cultural depth, and her role as one of Disney's first non-white, non-European princesses. A true queen in every sense, even if Disney never gave her the crown. When people talk about Disney princesses, hardly anyone, and I mean anyone, ever mentions Eilonwy. And yet she's a princess in her own story, and she does belong to a Disney film. So, why don't we know her? Eilonwy appears in The Black Cauldron, a dark animated film released in 1985, based on the fantasy book series The Chronicles of Prydain. In the movie, Eilonwy is a young princess with magical abilities who teams up with the protagonist, Taran, on a dangerous quest to stop an evil king from resurrecting an army of the dead. The film had everything it needed to succeed: magic, action, fantastical creatures, and ambitious animation for its time. But the result? A disaster. The tone was way too dark for kids, the production was chaotic, and to top it off, it premiered the same year as Back to the Future. Disney quickly buried the film, and with it, buried Eilonwy in complete obscurity. And that's a shame, because Eilonwy is a very different kind of princess. Sarcastic, bold, courageous, and unafraid to face the unknown. She doesn't sing, she doesn't dream of dresses, and she doesn't need rescuing. In fact, she's the one pulling Taran out of trouble most of the time. But since the movie was a flop, and Disney pretty much acts like it never happened, Eilonwy was never brought into the official princess circle, even though she checks every box. Royal blood, a starring role in an animated film, and a fully developed character arc. Today, only die-hard Disney fans or deep divers into the catalog even know she exists. But if any princess deserves the title of most forgotten of them all, it's the brave and practically invisible Eilonwy. Let me know in the comments what other topics you'd like to see covered on the channel. And remember, if you enjoy this type of video, the best way to support me is by leaving a like, subscribing, and turning on the notification bell. See you in the next video.